the sound. Sometimes I have sound difficulties. Surah, I think you should read something or find some way to amuse yourself. That's my advice. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Can you guys hear me? Is the connection well? Can you hear me? How's the reception in here? It's good? Okay, they said yes. Okay. Loud and clear, Sheikh. Okay. Double check. The sound is good before we start? All right, perfect. Khairan, inshallah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Before we get started with the workshop, we'll read from Ibn Sa'di rahimahullah ta'ala's tafsir. Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah Azza wa Jal, He says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون أياما معدودات فمن كان منكم مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر وعلى الذين يطيقونه فدية طعام مسكين فمن تطوع خيرا فهو خير له وأن تصوموا خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصم ومن كان مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر ولتكملوا العدة ولتكبروا الله على ما هداكم ولعلكم تشكرون. يخبر تعالى بما من به على عباده بأنه فرض عليهم الصيام كما فرضه على الأمم السابقة لأنه من الشرائع والأوامر التي هي مصلحة للخلق في كل زمان وفيه تنشيط لهذه الأمة بأنه ينبغي لكم أن تنافسوا غيركم في تكميل الأعمال والمسارعة في صالح الخصال وأنه ليس من الأمور الثقيلة التي اختصيتم بها عليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. ثم ذكر تعالى حكمته في مشروعية الصيام فقال لعلكم تتقون فإن الصيام من أكبر أسباب التقوى لأن فيه امتثال أمر الله واجتناب نهيه فمما اشتمل عليه من التقوى أن الصائم يترك ما حرم الله عليه من الأكل والشرب والجماع ونحوها التي تميل إليها نفسه متقربا بذلك إلى الله راجيا بتركها ثوابه فهذا من التقوى. ومنها أن الصائم يدرب نفسه على مراقبة الله تعالى فيترك ما تهوى نفسه مع قدرته عليه لعلمه باطلاع الله عليه. ومنها أن الصيام يضيق مجاري الشيطان فإنه يجري من ابن آدم مجرى الدم فبالصيام يضعف نفوذه وتقل منه المعاصي. ومنها أن الصائم في الغالب تكثر طاعته والطاعات من خصال التقوى. ومنها أن الغني إذا ذاق ألم الجوع أوجب له ذلك مواساة الفقراء المعدمين وهذا من بعض الأولياء فإنه قال وهذا من خصال التقوى. ولما ذكر أنه فرض عليهم الصيام أخبر أنه أيام معدودات أي قليلة في غاية السهولة ثم سهل تسهيلا آخر فقال فمن كان منكم مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر وذلك للمشقة في الغالب رخص الله لهما في الفطر. ولما كان لابد من حصول مصلحة الصيام لكل مؤمن أمرهما أن يقضياه في أيام أخر إذا زال المرض وانقضى السفر وحصلت الراحة. وفي قوله فعدة من أيام أخر فيه دليل على أنه يقضي عدد أيام رمضان كاملا كان أو ناقصا وعلى أنه يجوز أن يقضي أياما قصيرة باردة عن أيام طويلة حارة كالعكس. Allah Azza wa Jal, He says in Surah Al-Baqarah, what is translated to mean, what is rendered to mean, Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu, O you who believe. Kutiba alaykum as-siyam. Kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. He says, obligatory upon you, written upon you, mandatory upon you is fasting. Like it was made obligatory, mandatory, compulsory, those who came before you. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. In order for you to have taqwa. Shaykh Ibn Sa'di rahimahullah ta'ala, he says regarding this ayah, that in this verse in Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah is informing his servants. He's speaking to his slaves. He's telling them that he made fasting binding upon them, just as he made it binding upon the previous nations. And the reason why fasting is obligatory upon this nation and the previous nations, or was, is that it's a maslahatul al-khalq. It's a benefit for the people. Allah mandated something which is good for us. Listen carefully. Allah commanded us to do something that is only going to help us. It's nothing more than a benefit for us as humans, as servants and as slaves. Fi kulli zaman. He says all of the time. The time of the past, the time of the present, fasting is always a good thing. It's never a bad thing. It's always a good thing. And he says, and included in this ayah, he says, وَفِيهِ تَنْشِيطٌ لِهَذِهِ الْأُمَّةِ. Allah is encouraging us. He's encouraging us to compete with the previous nations. To compete with them for good deeds. Who can outdo the other? Which nation can be closer to Allah? Which nation can move faster in the race to do acts of righteousness? He says it is something that the Muslims should compete in. And that fasting, last but not least, point number 3, is that fasting isn't some major back-breaking burden that we have to do and only us. It's not something which is, we can complain. So, oh, why we got to do it? Why do I have to do it? Like your children say. We say, clean up your room, or sit down, or do this thing. Why I got to do it? Fulan didn't have to do it. Abdurrahman, he doesn't have to do it. They take it as a burden, some type of thing. Why are you telling me to sit down? Why am I in trouble? Why you ain't say that to him? It's human psychology. So I told all of you to sit down. Everyone has to go to sleep. Everyone has to stop right now. It's not as bad. It's not as bad. It's not the end of the day. But even if a thing is simple and easy, but if only one person is singled out and pointed out, then he can oftentimes what? Feel like it's a heavy thing. Everyone can bear the burden when you realize that the rest of the people are going through the same thing. The rules are for everybody. So Ibn Sa'di, he says that fasting isn't something which is backbreaking. It isn't something which is a burden. And even if it was, it's not something that you're the only ones that have to bear the burden for. Rather, it was upon those previous what? People who came before you. Ibn Sa'di, he then says, then Allah explains to us the wisdom behind fasting being obligatory. The secret behind us fasting, that's when Allah says, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, for you to have taqwa. And that's because fasting is from the easiest and best ways of obtaining taqwa. Fasting is a key ingredient in having more piety and more righteousness. An example of this, he says, or first and foremost, because taqwa is you're doing what Allah tells you to do, and you're avoiding what Allah is telling you to stay away from. From the things which prove this. Number 1 is that what do you do when you fast? You don't eat, you don't drink, you don't have intercourse. The things that the soul is naturally inclined towards. You're leaving off that which is natural. To eat, to drink, and have sexual desires. So you abandon those things for one reason and one reason only, and that is to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Seeking for Allah's reward, and that in itself is what? That's nothing more than what? That's taqwa. That is taqwa. To do what Allah said to do, to avoid what Allah said stay away from and avoid, hoping for His reward. That is the core of what? That's taqwa. That's taqwa. Ibn Sa'di rahimahullah ta'ala, he then says, secondly, is that fasting, and the one who fasts, he says he trains himself to be watchful of Allah. You're training yourself to be watchful of Allah. And that is because you stay away from eating and drinking, and you stay away from intercourse and other things that are prohibited while fasting for no other reason except for the fact that Allah sees you. Allah watches you. Allah sees us and He watches us all of the time. But when you're fasting, you're leaving off that which is permissible and sometimes recommended. Sometimes it's obligatory to eat and to drink. You're leaving it off because Allah sees you. that makes it easier for you to leave off the haram things, because you know that what? Allah sees you. Everyone understand this? If you can leave off that which is a good thing to do, it's easier for you to leave off that which is clearly what? A bad thing, an evil thing to do. Also, he says here, the person has the ability to do these things. No one knows he's eating or drinking behind closed doors. You go to the masjid, you go back home after Fajr, you come back out to the masjid for the next salah. No one knows what you do in your house. No one knows what you're doing. That's between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Another reason why fasting is attached and connected to taqwa is because fasting narrows the movement of the shaitan. It narrows his movement. It restricts and it hinders his movement. The shaitan moves with the son of Adam like blood flows through his vein. Like blood flows through his veins. And when you fast, you don't eat, you don't drink, things are naturally what? Tighter, restricted. Ibn Sa'di rahimahullah ta'ala, he then says, the shaitan isn't as lively moving through the son of Adam anymore. And there are less sins when people fast. That's a proven fact. That's a proven fact. There are less sins when people fast. Another point which proves the connection, alaykum salam to Allah, and the secret being taqwa and siyam, he says that in most cases, when people fast, they do extra acts of ibadah. When people fast, their ta'ah is more. Not talking about the sins, we're talking about the good deeds. People want to give what? More sadaqah in Ramadan. People come to the masjid more often. They pray more often. They do more virtuous deeds because they're fasting. And virtuous deeds or ta'at, acts of obedience, are all from what? Taqwa. Next point he says is that those who are wealthy, those who are affluent, they get to sympathize in the month of taqwa. And they taste the bitter pains of hunger. They know what it's like to be thirsty. They know what it's like not to be married, for a person to have to fight his desires and not fulfill his desires with a wife. And he relates and sympathizes for those Muslims who are what? Poor all of the time. This is my life every day. I have no food. Every day I have to wait till the next person to give me sadaqah. Every day I have to go outside, come back home, and I have no wife. That's every day for me because I don't have any money. So now you know what it feels like. You can relate. And that is to encourage the wealthy person to donate his wealth and to be more generous because he can relate. And obviously when human beings don't relate to each other, we all know what happens in the world today. When people look at something that's happening in this country, says that's not my business, that's their fault, that's their problem, oh, may Allah help them, and that's it. You can't relate to them, so you don't have the same feeling. But when you know what it's like to go through that struggle, you have more sympathy. When you know what it's like, I would understand this. We were talking about this the other day, brothers who are incarcerated. If you were never incarcerated, how can you truly relate to someone who was incarcerated before? What it's like to be in jail. It's a reality. It's a struggle. Going to jail, coming home from jail, trying to get a job. No one wants to hire you. No one wants to give you a job. And you're trying to stay away from whatever caused you to go to jail in the first time. It's difficult. And it's easy for someone to point the finger, get a job. It's easy for someone to say, oh, why you don't have this and why. That's easy for you because you've never been in that situation. But when you do go through the situation, you can have what? More understanding and more sympathy. Ibn Sa'di, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, وَهَذَا مِنْ خِصَالِ التَّقْوَى. And this is from all of these points that we've just mentioned, they're all from the traits of taqwa. Doing more acts of obedience, staying away from acts of disobedience, being watchful of Allah, sympathizing for your brother, blah, etc., etc. That's all from what? The things of what? Of taqwa. So that's the secret behind that ayah. That's the secret behind that ayah. Then Ibn Sa'di, rahimahullah ta'ala, it goes on to speak on the concept of those who are ill, those who are sick, and what do they have to do to make up their days. And he mentions many fawaid pertaining to those ahkam that we don't want to explain and read right now. We only wanted to read the introduction and the concept of taqwa being prescribed and the wisdom of taqwa being prescribed, which we already know, but as a means of refreshing and as a means of reminding. As a means of refreshing and as a means of reminding. Tayyib. Moving forward. I want to skip an ayah here. It says, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن أي الصوم المفروض عليكم هو شهر رمضان الشهر العظيم الذي قد حصل لكم فيه من الله الفضل العظيم وهو القرآن الكريم المشتمل على الهداية لمصالحكم الدينية والدنيوية وتبيين الحق بأوضح بيان والفرقان بين الحق والباطل والهدى والضلال وأهل السعادة وأهل الشقاوة فحقيق بشهر هذا فضله وهذا إحسان الله عليكم فيه أن يكون موسما للعباد مفروضا فيه الصيام. He says, and when Allah says that the month of Ramadan in which the Quran was sent down, the Quran which includes all guidance, the guidance towards the things that we want and need for the deen and for the dunya. That which is a benefit for our worldly lives, working, our children, saving money, our health, owning a house, whatever, from the maslahah of the dunya, of worldly life, the quality of life, let alone the maslahah of the deen, the spirit, the soul, the service to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Listen to these words. He says that the Quran, al-mushtamilu, it includes and it entails all masalih, all things which are good and beneficial, and not just from a spiritual aspect, but from a worldly aspect as well, either directly or indirectly, explicitly or inexplicitly. So what is the Quranic prohibition of saving money, of investing money, of working hard, of keeping our money in our communities, supporting each other's businesses, entrepreneurship? Where's the prohibition in the Quran for that? To work hard, to sweat, to bend over, to toil to your land, to save money, to invest, to buy houses, to buy real estate, to send your children to school, to take care of your health, to have recreation, to be physically strong. All of the things that people look at as a means of the quality of life, to have a good, reliable car. And these things like this, the Quran is never against these things. Rather, the Quran, it lays down these foundations and these principles, and it speaks on these things, as I said, directly or what? Indirectly. Directly or indirectly. So therefore, the status of a person's community cannot be blamed on Islam. And the status of a country cannot be blamed on Islam. You can't say that this country is behind and backwards because it is Islamic. That's not true. That's not true. The Quran does not promote these cultural or social, this type of backwardsness. It doesn't promote that. Rather, the Quran promotes the what? The exact opposite. The exact opposite of structure, of system, of order, of time, of respect, of courtesy, of professionalism, saving money, building, constructing things, making things for the future generations. The Quran is not against that. The Quran is never against that. All right? And the same applies to the spirituality, the masalih of the deen, of the heart, of the soul, servicing or worshiping Allah and serving Allah. The Quran includes all of those things as well. And Allah Azza wa Jal, He blessed His slaves when He sent down His book that explains the truth from the falsehood extremely plain, very lucid. The Furqan, the criterion between the truth and the falsehood, He says, guidance and misguidance, the happy people from the miserable people, the Muslims from the kuffar, the people of Tawheed from the people of Shirk, the people of the way of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam for those who follow their forefathers, or their customs, or their cultures, or their sheikhs, or whatever they're following besides the way of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Quran explains all of this. Those who are happy and those who are miserable in this life and in the hereafter. Those who live in their su'ada, and those, unfortunately, who are ashqiya. May Allah protect us from being miserable and from being wretched. He says, so if this is the case of the Quran and with the Quran, then of course, it says it only makes sense for it to be a major season of ibadah. A major season to what? To get more good deeds, to run further away from bad deeds, to make Toba, to wash ourselves clean from our sins, and to get closer to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alright, so these are words of wisdom. Inshallah, we can all benefit from them. Everybody. Those from among you who are righteous, those from among us who aren't so righteous, who are lacking, everyone can benefit from these words of wisdom with regards to this upcoming month. Khairan, inshallah. So that's what I wanted to share with you, brothers and sisters, regarding that. Before we get into the book here, the comprehensive handbook on Ramadan and fasting, I want to remind you all of a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. The famous narration of Abu Hurairah in Sahih Muslim and other places. وَمَنْ سَلَكَ طَرِيقًا يَلْتَمِسُ فِيهِ عِلْمًا أو يسلك فيه علما سلك الله له أو سلك الله به طريقا إلى الجنة. في روايات وألفاظ, different versions of the hadith, that whoever treads a path in which he is seeking knowledge, Allah will place him on a path to paradise. من سلك طريقا يلتمس فيه علما. Whoever treads a path to seek knowledge, Allah will make it easy for him to go to Jannah. So we all know the virtues of seeking knowledge, the virtues of teaching knowledge, the virtues of the ulama. We know these things. But what I want to talk about right now is the word in the hadith. It says, man salaka, he who treads a path, meaning seeking knowledge is a path. And seeking knowledge is supposed to be a system. It's not supposed to be something which is haphazard. It's not supposed to be something which is cluttered. It's not supposed to be something which is confusing. It's supposed to be something which is a clear, simple path, a system, a track, a road that you embark upon which is straight. So with that being said, the ulama of al-Islam, they have laid down this path. They've explained this path. What is the proper way to seek knowledge? What is the proper way to teach knowledge? What is the proper way to learn knowledge? What is the proper way to propagate knowledge? They've laid down these principles. And they've told us about every single minute detail that you can possibly think of, directly or indirectly. The broad principles and the things which are open and which you can pick and choose how you want to do it, as long as you're following the specific direction. So with that being said, this is one of the guiding principles behind many things. From that is this book. It's a small, concise, simple, lean, steak. No fat whatsoever. Everyone understand this? Whether it's Kobe or what? Wagyu, whatever, Tayyip, lean, right? You want it lean. So the ulama of Islam, in the past, they would write, that was what's called mutun, ilmiya, mutun. They would write small handbooks, small manuals that weren't large, they weren't confusing, they had compressed information to be read, to be memorized, and then to be explained and expounded upon. But the original book was supposed to be mukhtasar, for the beginner, let alone for the layman, the everyday Muslim on the train. The student of knowledge is a different story. The brother who's reading this and studying this is a different story. But the one who's on the train to work, the one who's stuck in traffic, the one who has a lunch break, the one who goes to the masjid, goes home to his family, he's not proficient in the sciences of Islam. There has to be a specific gear for this person. And that's the idea behind this book and other books. And that for something to be lean. There's no differences of opinion. There is no proofs, no evidences. There are no different views. Rather, many points in this book is not even an answer. And it's not even telling you something. Many points is just getting you to think. Think about it yourself. And from that thought, it would lead you to other things. Other things. The proofs and the evidences, first and foremost. When you read Bulugh al-Maram, inshallah ta'ala, after you read this book or any other small metin, you have a better understanding of Bulugh al-Maram. And you get the concept down. Narrated Aisha radiallahu anha, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to do this when he entered his home. That's the proof for that point that I read in that fiqh book. But he didn't want the fiqh book to be what? Too large or just too cluttered for the beginner. So you understand how to merge between fiqh and between hadith. Sometimes they merge, and sometimes they have their own separate what? Worlds. And which is just the hadith that's mentioned, not the ruling. And other times it's just the what? The ruling mentioned without the what? Without the hadith. Not meaning that there isn't a hadith to support that. Everyone understand this? So there's a maslak. There's a method for the learner. A method for the learner. The learner, whether the learner is a layman or whether the learner is a student, there's a specific way in which you have to behave in order to get to your destination in knowledge. And if we don't follow that path and we do it how we want to do it, and we do it one day here, one day there, one day up, one day down, we're going to find ourselves 10, 20 years going to by it, we really don't have no knowledge. All of the lectures, all of the conferences, all of the translations, all of the sheikhs that visited my country, what do I actually have of ilm? What tangible knowledge have I walked away from? And one of the reasons why we don't have the tangible knowledge is because we did not study it with the proper method. The proper, man salaka. You have to make it suluk. Everyone understand this? So with that being said, it's something we've explained many times before, but that's the general idea of this book, or anyone else who writes a book like that. Hopefully that's the purpose, inshallah ta'ala. So as it says on the cover of the book, it came from a comprehensive Ramadan workshop. On the channel, we posted the workshop we did a few years back at Al-Ihsan Academy in South Ozone Park, in which we had a PowerPoint presentation. And we explained the points, and we mentioned the proofs and evidences for certain points, not all of them. Okay, and I decided to turn that PowerPoint presentation into a booklet that you can have with you, you can read, or it can also be used as a curriculum for camp or Sunday school or for your house. And which you already know the points, you have the proofs, you have the hadiths, whatever, but you just want some type of structure, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, to go and base it upon. Let alone with other fawaid, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, which you'll find in this book, and in most cases only in this book. They're not fawaid that I made up and came up with myself, but the fawaid from scattered sources and years of study and research and debate. I would understand this, and which is placed here for you. So inshallah ta'ala, everyone can get something from the book by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in the table of contents, it says spiritual hygiene, virtues, fasting from A to Z, modern day fiqh issues of fasting, night prayers, zakatul fitr, Eid al-Fitr. So before we even talk about Ramadan and fasting, let's talk about being spiritually clean, cleaning our spirits, washing our souls, the virtues of this, the importance of this. And then, as we said, with regards to the spirituality, we have the technicality. Now we need to actually know the fiqh of fasting. And it can't just be some type of spiritual, metaphysical type of thing. Oh, brother, clean your heart, purify your soul, and that's it. No. There's technical knowledge now. You cannot take this medicine when you're fasting. You cannot make this prayer at that time. You cannot start the fasting because of this country. There's rules. There are rules. And there's technicality. And that is fasting from A to Z. Everything you can think about, fasting in Ramadan and outside of Ramadan, for the layman Muslim, that's in there from A to Z, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. No exotic foreign terms, A to Z. That's how we say it. Fasting from A to Z, 101, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. And you'll be shocked at many fundamental principles or basic rulings that many people are ignorant and unaware of when it comes to fasting. You'll be shocked. Many people, they think that you can do this, you can still eat this, you can take this, it's not food, so on and so forth. You'll be shocked. You'll be shocked. Then we have modern day fiqh issues. How can a person say or think that there aren't going to be modern day issues, problems, and discrepancies? It has to be. Islam is universal, no doubt about that. Islam is timeless, no doubt about that. But these are issues that were sent down 1,400 years ago. Things have changed. The world has changed. Even though the world hasn't really changed, humans are still the same. They still have the same issues. They still have the same way that they think and look at life. But there's technology, there's science, there's travel. All different types of things have what? How have they changed since 100 years ago? 200 years ago? Let alone what? 1,400 years ago. And this is something that we often don't realize when we read certain books. When you're reading Sahih Muslim, do you realize this book is over 1,000 years old? It's an ancient work. Everyone understand this? So you have to apply the old to the what? To the new. You have to. And there's no clash between the two. There's no clash between the two, okay? But there are modern day issues that have to be discussed and brought into the modern day light with regards to fasting. Then we have night prayers, a big part of the month of Ramadan, but not specific and exclusive to the month of Ramadan. And it's a very common mistake that many people make, thinking that it's something special just for Ramadan. There are night prayers throughout the year. There's tahajjud, there's qiyam, tarawih, qiyam, tahajjud are supposed to be all the what? Same thing, prayer at nighttime. How many rakat can you make? If you make 20, is it bid'ah? Are you an innovator if you make 20? Does it have to be 8? Can it be 11? What can you say how to make witr? Is witr obligatory? What did Abu Hanifa say about witr? So on and so forth, huh? So on and what? And so forth. And then we have zakatul fitr. What do we do for zakatul fitr? How much do we pay for zakatul fitr? Can I give money? Does it have to be cereal, rice, oatmeal? Can I give flour, cornmeal, cream of wheat? Everyone understand this? What do you actually do with zakatul fitr? You have stepchildren. Do you have to pay zakatul fitr for them? Your wife is pregnant. Do you pay zakatul fitr for them? When is the zakat al-fitr given? Can it be given to non-Muslims? So on and so forth. And then we have Eid al-Fitr, the Eid. What's the ruling on going to the Eid? Do I have to go to the Eid? What if I have my menstruation? Do I still have to go? Can I go? Is it permissible for me to go to the Eid and I didn't fast? Do I have to take off work? Are we allowed to have 3 Eids in one city? Are we allowed to have 10 Eids in one city? So on and so forth. Tight. So first and foremost on page 2, it says spiritual hygiene. And inshallah, all the brothers and sisters online as well, you have the book. The book is for free. It's on the website, the PDF, the booklet. It's not actually a book. It's a booklet. Spiritual hygiene, its importance. Point number 1, it pertains to the soul, which should be the first and last priority and point of concern for the wise believer. The bottom line. Why is the topic even important? Because it pertains to your eternal happiness or your eternal misery. So if you have a brain and if you have any common sense, let alone wisdom, you're going to make that the first thing and the last thing on your checklist. My soul. You, I love you for Allah's sake. You're my brother, you're my man. But that's secondary. You, we laugh, we joke. Kayf halik, akhi, alhamdulillah. But that's what? That's secondary. When it comes to my nafs, the punishment of Allah, I have to be selfish. And if you're not selfish when it comes to your own nafs, being delivered from Allah's wrath, something's wrong with you. If you're willing to put someone else's nafs before your own nafs. Does that mean that we neglect our brothers? No, of course not. Helping your brothers is a means of helping your what? Yourself, of course. But that's the first and last what? Priority. So anything pertaining to spirituality and the soul is of utmost importance to the Muslim. Listen to these words. Anything that pertains to your soul should be what? Utmost importance. And that's what this whole thing is about. Saving yourself from Allah's wrath. That's the bottom line. So that is the guide, that's the ledger, that's the yardstick, the rule for everything that we do. In our homes, our houses, dawah, what are we doing for our souls? Moving forward. It is from the rudimentary concepts of the Prophet's message and dawah. Meaning, this is from the usul of the dawah of the Prophet ﷺ. As Allah tells us in the Quran, where you zakihim, He cleans them and He purifies them. Tazkiyah is from the foundations of the religion. He had to clean them from shirk and kufr. He had to clean them from polytheism, idolatry. He had to clean them from the filth of jahiliyyah. I'm better than you because of my tribe and my lineage, let alone skin color and complexion. He had to cleanse them and wash them free from this filth. Killing children alive, mistreating the orphans, mistreating slaves and servants. Allah put you in authority over this person. You're not in authority over them because you're better than them. Allah tested this servant with being your servant. And He tested you with being this person's master. It's a test. It's a fitna. So He had to wash away these things from jahiliyyah. Number 3, the overabundant ways of defiling the self in our modern times. In other words, there's so much dirt outside, we have to work extra hard to stay clean. Or not to stay clean, but to what? Get clean. Because some of us, we don't even get clean, let alone stay clean. There's a difference between the two. Everyone understand this? It's extremely dirty and dusty outside. So you have to be very careful where you walk. Because you're wearing a white thobe. You have to be very careful what you step in. Because there's so much filth outside. The internet, television, the news. Wherever you go, there's ways of what? Of spiritual dirt and filth. And people are calling you to it. Imposing their will upon you to become defiled. And if you're trying to be righteous and pious, they look at you as being someone who's weird and strange. Or you're arrogant, or you think you're better than the other people, or you're a saint. Why do you look like this? So on and so forth. This is sad. So we have to work extra hard. The next point says, the scholars of the past gave it a great deal of importance and care. The ulama of the past, they spoke about purifying the soul. We talk about Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn al-Qayyim. Where don't you find this in their works? How often does Ibn al-Qayyim talk about the heart and the soul? Ibn Taymiyyah, day in, day night, they talk about these things. And that's just those two. We didn't talk about the ulama who came what? Before them. But the people, no doubt, the virtue of Ibn Taymiyyah and his student, what they've done for the aqidah, for the deen, no question about that. You understand what I'm saying to you? So you can't just take one thing and leave off what? that. Moving forward. It is one of the major practical lessons to be taken from the 5 pillars of Al-Islam. Listen carefully. We have lessons to take. We have major lessons to take. We have practical lessons to take. But we have major practical lessons. 3 different things combined. Something which is major, something which is a lesson, and something which is practical. You may take a lesson from someone, but it isn't practical. Or the lesson isn't major. Or something major may happen, but it isn't a lesson at all. It's just a major event that took place. There's no lesson. I don't take anything from it. Or it's not necessarily what? Practical. So when we talk about the pillars of Al-Islam, the Shahadatain, the Salah, the Zakah, the Hajj and Ramadan, all of those things give you some practical application of Tazkiyatun Nafs. Hajj. Need we say more? How much money do you spend on Hajj? You pay, you see? You spend too much money on Hajj. But every time you take the money out your wallet, it's doing what? You're becoming further from being stingy and tight. Every time someone pushes you or steps on you or spits on you or shoves you, you're humbling yourself even more. You know what? If I wanted to, I could do what? Go on a rampage. Huh? You're pushing the wrong one, Yahi. I'm not from this country. I'm from what? You understand what I'm saying to you? But you have to what? You humble yourself. Every time you humble yourself, that means of what? You're purifying yourself. Fasting, Tawheed, the ultimate purification. Purifying your heart from shirk and from kufr. وهكذا. Moving forward, its necessity. The life of this world touches each and every single one of us in one way or another. All of us are affected by the dunya. He who says, I'm not affected by the dunya, the world doesn't bother me, it's no problem, it's no issue with me, I don't see how that can be said. I'm not going to say they're lying, but I don't see what? How that can be said, especially living in an urban city or in the suburbs. The dunya is on us all. Work, money, fashion, trending, sports, music, movies, cartoons, superheroes. All around the board. It's not just for grown-ups. Children, they're caught up. Huh? Right? Marvel superheroes. It's a reality. And that's from the dunya. It's from the dunya. Okay? So everyone has the dunya on them, on one level or another. Some of us more than others. So we need to remove this. And we need to have some type of counter, what? Medicine. And that's tazkiyatun nafs. So that's why it is necessary. Secondly, there's a great number of callers to the defilement of the soul. Many people call to it. And we're not talking about the means of the soul being defiled. We already explained that. But people who are actually vocal with regards to telling you to make your soul filthy. Calling you to zina. It's normal to have a girlfriend and a boyfriend. It's normal to be a homosexual. It's natural. There's nothing wrong with it. It's normal to get a tattoo. It's fine. It's normal to drink. You worked hard. How many hours did you put in this week? You going to go to hell just for having a drink at the end of the week? You deserve it. Take it off. Treat yourself. People, they call to these things. It is normal and it's accepted to them, unfortunately. Number 3, there isn't any one of us except that he or she sins, forgets, and becomes heedless at one point or another. All of us. If you don't sin, then you forget. If you don't forget, then you become what? Heedless. Just a bit. Like you're driving and you're tired and you find yourself what? Just a little bit. You're not asleep. You know that you're driving. You see the cars, but you find your energy what? Just a bit. And you need to be reminded. Let alone those who drive what? Poorly. They make sins when they drive. Everyone understand this? Or those who forget that there's a rule. You can't do this. And this is the speed limit. So that's each and every one of us. All of us on this path that we're driving on, we have one of these 3 mistakes, if not what? All of them. We sin, we forget, and oftentimes we just fall into what? La la land. Some of us for a couple of seconds, a couple of minutes, and some of us, unfortunately, we may be what in that land, what? A month. Or some of us 11 months, and we only come out of it in Ramadan. Number 4, it's necessary in understanding much of the Quran. Much of the Quran cannot be understood unless you understand the concept of tazkiyatun nafs. What was Salih saying to his people? What was Hud saying to his people? Everyone understand this? So what did Musa want from Fir'aun? What did the Prophet ﷺ want from his people? Why is Allah talking about this? Greed. How you love wealth. So understanding the Quran is a big part of that is tazkiyatun nafs. Tell you, summarizing that, move on to the next point. Obtain and maintain. How do we obtain tazkiyatun nafs? And then once you get it, how do we what? Maintain it. It's easy to get money, what? Hard to keep it. That's what the wise man once said. It's relatively easy. But making the money sit there, invest in it, not spending it, not allowing it to burn a hole in your pocket, that's the challenge. So you can become guided with alhamdulillah. You learn, you study, you take your shahada, you come to the masjid, but now remain consistent upon Islam. And it's one of the most beautiful things when you come to the masjid and you see your brothers, alhamdulillah, he's still practicing all these years. How many years ago was that? Still striving, still trying to do the right thing. It means something, and many people aren't here. Brothers who've apostated, waliyadhu, people who went on some crazy stuff on the left, on the right, jumped off a cliff. You see a brother, he doesn't look like a Muslim, tats all on his neck and face. He's with an uncovered woman. Oh, that's my wife. I got married to her. She's a Christian. It's reality. So obtaining it is one thing, and what? Maintaining the tazkiyah to nafs is a different story. So first and foremost, we mentioned asking Allah through dua. Ask Allah to keep you pure, to keep you clean. Number two is reading the specific prophetic supplications regarding purifying the soul. The specific ahadith in which the Prophet ﷺ would ask Allah for tazkiyah. Whether it was the specific wording, وَزَكِّهَا أَنْتَ خَيْرُ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا, in which the Prophet asked Allah to clean the souls of the people. أَنْتَ خَيْرُ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا, he says, you're the best, O Allah, to clean the souls. Or the other du'as in which the Prophet ﷺ sought Allah's refuge from the general pieces or ways of defilement, such as stinginess, cowardice, debt, being overtaken by men. The Prophet, he asked Allah to protect him from these vices, which make the soul dirty and filthy. Abstaining from eating the haram. Stay away from eating haram things. Whether the product is haram, alcohol, swine, meat that wasn't slaughtered properly, the animals that were not slaughtered, or whether it is halal food from illegal wealth. The illegal wealth. And many people, they take a hypocritical stance towards this. They come down against brothers who sell drugs, brothers who sell alcohol, but they work in banks. You work in a bank. An interest-based bank. The whole institution is based off of interest. What makes you different from someone who's selling drugs? He's selling people poison, and you're selling people debt. You're selling people slavery for the next 30, 40, 50 years. You'll be in debt. You have to look at it like that. Or people who work in other institutions, people who work in different government institutions, wherever they work, and they deal with foreign relations to steal a country's resources and to make a handful of select families in that country rich, while 95% of the people in that country will live under abject poverty. That's what happens every single day. That's what happens in South America. That's what happens in Africa. That's what happens in the Far East. Every single day these things happen. They make deals. These people will live like fat rats, and the majority of the country will be starving. And they make these deals and these transactions with people, and they think that they're morally clean. But then they'll come down against someone who's caught with drugs or a gun. You're doing more damage with that pen than with a bag of drugs. You don't understand this? Unfortunately. And it's all haram. Drugs, politics, anything which is what? Khabith. Kasbun khabith. Money which isn't earned property. It comes at the expense of someone else's suffering. It comes at the extent at the expense of someone else. Their quality of life, what? Far to the bottom of the ground. Whether it's crack rock or whether it is alcohol, swine, interest, whatever is the thing which is causing someone to be miserable. So avoid eating from these means. That's a means of obtaining, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, the nafs, inshallah, which is pure. Wa alaikum assalam to Allah. Moving forward. Not submitting to the will of the nafs. Fighting and battling. Don't give up. Don't quit. Don't let your nafs beat you. You have to fight it. You can't allow it to tell you what to do. After that is seeking and learning beneficial knowledge from the book and the sunnah. Ilm. The more you know, the easier it is to fight. The more you know, inshallah ta'ala, the closer you'll be to Allah and the further the shaitan will be away from you. Inshallah. Number 7 is constantly looking into the life stories of the scholars of hadith. It's to constantly look into their biographies, the tarajim of the muhaddithin, those who practice zuhd, those whom Allah had blessed with a great deal of tazkiyah, inshallah ta'ala. Read their life stories, whether it's Bukhari, Imam Ahmad, Abu Dawood, the ulama of hadith. Then we have number 8, abstaining from unnecessary pleasures and luxuries of the dunya. Number 9, accompanying the righteous, i.e. not accompanying the wicked. Number 10, properly paying alms tax, zakat. Number 11, voluntary fasting. Number 12, voluntary charity, sadaqah. Tayyib. Then the next section says, who is the one who actually purifies your soul, gives you spiritual hygiene? Is it only Allah? Or do you have a part in it? Or can a scholar purify you and cleanse your soul? What's the proper understanding of how we get what? Tazkiyatun nafs. Someone says, it's only from Allah. I have no part in it whatsoever. Is that correct to say that? Absolutely. No. And if it is correct, or if it isn't correct, what are the effects of that on a person's attitude and behavior? That it can only come from Allah. Or those who say that tazkiyatun nafs only comes from the servant. You have to do it. Don't blame it on Allah. It's your responsibility to do it. Is that correct to say that? Or is it partially correct? Whatever the case may be. And what is the effects of that attitude? Or those who have the view that a scholar has to purify me. And I'm not talking about one group, any group, in which they have extremism with regards to this. This sheikh, this imam, this wali, this mawla, whatever word or title is given to him, he's the one that can cleanse us. And no one else can give us tazkiyah. Is that correct? Is that incorrect? And what is the effects, or what are the effects of that on the person's what? Behavior and attitude with regards to striving. Then we have misunderstandings and misconceptions. Misunderstandings and misconceptions regarding tazkiyatun nafs. The most popular of them is the first one. This topic is only for the Sufis. A brother talks about tazkiyatun nafs, he's a what? He's a Sufi. Purify the soul, he's a Sufi. Zuhud, the dunya, softening the heart, get closer to Allah, he's a what? He's a Sufi. This is the most widespread misconception, and that's wrong. Number 2, this topic is foreign to the Salaf al-Salih, Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, the people of Hadith. They never talked about it. They never brought it up. It's an innovation. It's a modern day thing. It only came in the 7th century. That's misconception. That's wrong. Point number 3, there is the only or most, it is the only or most, I don't know if there's a typo here, most important part of the religion of al-Islam. That the deen is nothing but tazkiyah. That's the exact opposite of the previous misunderstanding. Those who say that it has nothing to do with the deen. It has nothing to do with the way of the Salaf al-Salih. And then we have another extremist, another zealot. He comes and he says the deen is what? Nothing but purification. That's it. There's no studying. There's no Sahih Bukhari. There's no this. Just tazkiyah. That's it. They're both wrong. Then there are an entirely different set of principles and rules for purifying the soul other than those extracted from the book and the sunnah. It's something foreign and exotic to purify your soul. No, purification of the soul is from the Quran and the what? The sunnah. What Ibn Taymiyyah is saying about the subject, what Ibn Qayyim is saying about the subject, has to be based off of the Quran and the sunnah. Has to be. He has to be mentioning the text of the Quran and sunnah. He has to be explaining those texts, expounding on those texts, reflecting on those texts, reminding the people of those texts. But purification of the soul is not what Ibn Taymiyyah is just saying, or Ibn Qayyim is coming up with. And we've explained this. Walillah alhamd. And I don't think anyone with a brain is going to differ with this common sense principle. That Islam is the kitab and the sunnah. It's the book and the sunnah. And the Salaf al-Salih, they acted upon the book and the sunnah. They called to the book and the sunnah. They had the pure understanding of the book and the sunnah, not that they made up things themselves. And acts of ibadat themselves. And they did extra things themselves. I don't think there's an aqil who's going to argue over that point. And if a person who says that the deen is kitab and sunnah, and the Sahaba implemented the kitab and the sunnah, and that's why they were special, that it means that they have no status. And you're saying that they're no one. I don't think there's an intellectual person that's going to say that. Unless he has a foul and wicked intention in his heart. And Allah knows best. But Islam is kitab and sunnah. The Sahaba understood the kitab and sunnah. They implemented the what? Kitab and the sunnah. They remained pure on the teachings of the kitab and sunnah when the other Muslims strayed from that path. There's no specific rules to tazkiyah other than what? Kitab and sunnah. Everyone understand this? If a scholar writes a book, Ashrul Qawaid li Tazkiyat an-Nafs, 10 principles for purifying the soul, Those 10 principles must be taken from what? It's that simple. There's no 10 rules that I just make up. This is how you magically purify yourself because I'm a scholar, or Ibn Taymiyyah or Ibn Qayyim said it, or this person. Abadan. Ittabi'u ma unzila ilaykum min rabbikum. Follow what has been sent down to you from your Lord. Let's ask the question, what has been sent down to us from Allah? What has been sent down? Quran, Sunnah, Kalam, Shaykh Fulan? Quran and Sunnah, the Ra'i of this one and of that one? Or the what? Quran and the Sunnah. And once we say or think otherwise, only Allah knows where that is going to lead you. When a scholar or a person, whoever, whatever generation they're from, can do something that's not proven in the Quran and the Sunnah. And that's ibadah. And that's aqidah. It's misunderstanding of those texts. Following them because they followed the what? Quran and the Sunnah. Those who interpreted the Quran and Sunnah and warped their meanings, distorted their meanings, we say no, we follow the understanding of the Sahaba of the Quran and of the Sunnah. And their understanding was nothing more than the what? The pure way of understanding it. Moving forward to the next section, ruling on Tazkiyatul Nafs. Tazkiyatul Nafs is fard upon each and every servant of Allah. It's not an option. We have to try ourselves, our best to what? To purify ourselves. Then we talk about the virtues of the month of Ramadan. Why is the month of Ramadan so virtuous? Nothing to do with what? Fasting. We're just talking about the what? The month. As we've explained. Babies that are born in Ramadan. People that die in Ramadan. Everyone understands getting married in Ramadan, right? Opening a business in Ramadan. Everyone understand this? A woman who's menstruating in the month of Ramadan. A traveler in the what? The month of Ramadan. The month in itself is what? Special. Nothing to do with the what? The fasting. So we mentioned here 16 points. The first of them, it is the only month mentioned in the Quran Kareem by name. Number 2, it is the month in which the Quran was revealed, like we just explained. Number 3, it is the month of the Quran, in which the Quran is read, recited, taught, so on and so forth. You get closer to it. Number 4, it is one of the months which houses one of the 5 pillars of Islam. One of the 5 pillars of Islam is housed in what? In this month. It contains the night of Qadr. The gates of heaven are open and the doors of hell are shut. Shaitan is chained and the malicious demons are fettered therein, etc. The last point, which I feel is a very interesting point, it is a month in which the Muslims suffer bitter sadness when it leaves. Has to mean something. Everyone feels sad when Ramadan is over. Right or wrong? You're hungry, eat, but it's like, dang, man, it's what? It's over. The special iftars, the special suhoor, the brotherhood, the sisterhood, the masjid being packed is now what? It's gone. You feel that. That has to what? That has to mean something. That it's a special time. Then we have the virtues of fasting in and outside of Ramadan. The virtues of fasting in Ramadan and what? Outside. Fasting is a shield from sin. It protects you from sin. It is a shield from hell. Fasting is the only human act of worship that Allah the Most High has attributed to Himself. To the end of those points. Fasting from A to Z. Main rulings of fasting from the month of Ramadan. Tayyib. When do you begin? Things which nullify the fast, right? Making up missed days. Recommended fast. Disliked days of fasting. Unlawful days of fasting. Al-i'tikaf. Moon sighting versus calculation. There's a big argument and debate that happens most of the years. Not every single year. This year they didn't have it, right? Shaban was what? 30 days to complete it. So everyone, hopefully, in Atlantic City should do, or Pleasantville should do what? Inshallah, it should be one Eid, hopefully. Bi'idhnillah. Bi'idhnillah. So what is the ruling on the moon sighting? Is it a bid'ah to use the calculation? Is it haram to use the calculation? What do the ulama say about this? What are the proofs and evidences of those ulama? How do we understand this issue today, in which many things that we do during our daily lives are based off of what? Calculation. Such as time for prayer. What's the direction? When's the last time you actually looked for the specific direction? And you use the what? Calculation is a big part of our what? Our daily lives. How old you are. When you retire. What day is Friday? What day is Monday? Many, many different issues here, all right? Let alone those who have the other Islamic months only based off of what? Calculation, and never look for the moon. So what is the discussion on that? I believe this is a brief but informative discussion in these points on which of the two is it impermissible to use the calculation? No doubt, the asl is ru'ya. But is it haram to use other than the ru'ya? Food for thought, nothing more than that. And then we have problems, inconsistencies, and contradictions raised by those who support the validity of using the calculation method. Those who support it, how they fight and how they have counter arguments. Moving forward, modern day fiqh issues of fasting. Traditional Islamic jurisprudence versus modern day science, technology, culture, and politics. East meets West. Norms in the East may not be norms in the what? West. And we live in the West. Caliphate versus secular Islam. When the Muslims lived under central government, formal government, there was a leader, Khalifa. How that determine certain things, such as looking for the moon, fighting. The Eid is tomorrow. Done. Over. Say what you want to say. Right and wrong. The leader has declared what? Eid is tomorrow. You understand this? Ramadan is starting when? Today. Wahakada. Muslim majorities versus Muslim minorities. I still have to work on Ramadan. How many people ask that question? Can I break my fast because I work on the ground? I'm a plumber. I'm a miner. I work in a cave. It's extremely hot. I'll pass out if I don't stay hydrated. I can't take off work because I have to feed my family. I'm struggling doing this job. It's a reality. Or a person who says, I'm going to school and I'm taking my finals. I have major exams. I can't take them if I don't eat and drink. Is that permissible? Would that even be happening if we lived in an Islamic society? That's the point I'm trying to get to. If we lived in a what? An Islamic society. So that has an effect upon many, many rulings of fasting today. The fact that we are minorities, the fact that we're not living in an Islamic society, the fact that there is no central, organized Islamic government for all. That's a problem. Moving forward, legal maxims versus specific proof and evidence. Allah wants ease for us. The deen is ease. There's no doubt about that. That's a principle. But does that mean it's permissible for you to go against this specific hadith that says don't do this? Many people, they make this mistake. Everyone understand this? Hijab. They'll say the Quran says dress modestly. The Quran says be modest. The Quran says this and that. Don't go extreme. But the Prophet's hadith clearly says to cover this part of your body. You can't use a vague principle in light of a what? Specific text. Necessity, need, hardship, and perfection. Then we have theory versus practice. Moon sighting for both commencing and the conclusion of the month of Ramadan, as we've previously explained. Using modern means of technology for looking for the moon. Telescopes, electronic satellites. Is that permissible? Or do we have to look for the moon with the natural eye? Using modern prayer schedules for suhoor, imsak, and iftar. What's the ruling on that? When it's time to break fast, do you go outside and go on the roof and look at the sky? No doubt about that. Or it's raining today. It's cloudy outside. What do you do then? Everyone understand this? Time for suhoor, imsak, and iftar, traveling by plane. When do you break your fast if you're on a plane? You decide not to break your fast. Now it's dark, it's light, and Allah knows we've been on many planes in which the time zones are like that. Next thing you know, it's sunny. Before you know it, it's like, whoa, what happened? It's crazy, literally. SubhanAllah. You see that when you're on a plane for a long period of time. Or if you go to sleep, you wake up, you lift up the thing, and it's piercing bright light. But it was just the night, and it wasn't that many hours that went by because you're moving so fast. And you're on such a high altitude. So that's a modern day what? Fiqh issue. And it wasn't like that back in the day, you're riding on a camel or a horse. Yeah. Totally different. Or even on a steamliner. Night and day. Night and day. Moving forward. Air and eye drops, inhalers, nasal sprays, throat examinations, OBGYN examinations and procedures, intravenous therapy, IVs, so on and so forth. Then we have theory versus practice. The needles, oxygen masks, breathing tubes, anesthetics, blood donations, etc. Going to the doctors. What are the rulings on these things? This is only the what? The compressed method. The specific answers are found in other places. Then we have the night prayers. Offering prayers at night, inside and outside of Ramadan, is a highly recommended act of worship. Not obligatory, but what? Highly recommended to pray at nighttime, even if it's not Ramadan. And here we have 25 comprehensive points. 25 comprehensive points. So you can see from the book that part of the book is what? Is giving you the answer, like a metin. And as I said, the other parts of the book are causing confusion. It's meant to get your mind what? Tingling. To ask a question. Or to pick up a book. Or to go and get a fatwa from a scholar on the specific issue. Because there are many issues that we don't even realize are what? Are issues. I didn't even know it was an issue putting in something in my ear. I know it was an issue going to the doctors. I know it was an issue going to get this checkup and getting this done. Everyone understand this? So the metin is a hybrid. The book is a what? It's a hybrid. Some of it is giving you the actual point. Example of this, it says those who stay with the imam for the entire tarawih will receive the reward as if they prayed the entire night. We're telling you something. And the other points, we're just bringing up the what? The issue. Zakatul fitr. It is mandatory upon every grown Muslim. And thus he, she must provide it for their dependents and beneficiaries. Anyone that you're looking after, your son or your stepson. If they're under your what? Guardianship and you're paying for their food and their drink and their clothes, so on and so forth. Naam. Then last but not least is Eid al-Fitr. What are the rulings on going to the Eid? What should be done on the Eid? So on and so forth. Inshallah ta'ala, you can download the book. The brothers and sisters in person, you can get the free copy of the book. Inshallah ta'ala, as we've said on Friday night in Philly, if there's any dawah organization or masjid who wants to print the book, they have our permission to print it. They can print it for free, as long as it remains free distribution, and as long as no changes or alterations are made. If there are any mistakes, typos, or misguidance in the book, feel free to email us. And inshallah ta'ala, if we see that it's a mistake and it's wrong, we'll be more than happy to do what? To correct it, and thank you for that. Jazakumullahu khairan. We will now take some questions from the brothers and the sisters, inshallah ta'ala, and Allah surely knows best. Any questions before we go online? Fadl, Sheikh.
I can't see this, but
Too small. Tell you. We'll get you some bottle caps.
I was trying to open that thing, but earlier you breezed past the point. I wanted you to elaborate on it. You were saying about Amal Basu, that the soul being commanded to do evil, and how Ramadan is the opportunity for the soul to subdue that.
Okay.
I wanted you to, you kind of went right past it.
Tayyib. He says here that you breezed past the point, huh?
And you went to something
You're moving
else,
so
but
fast,
I
Mufti.
think
Whoa,
that-
slow down.
I think that for the lay person,
That's a cut indirectly, right, Sheikh Khalid?
I think for the lay person that all of us in here, that's our struggle.
Clear. With regards to an-nafs al-ammara bis-su, the soul that commands with evil, or an-nafs al-lawama, the soul that blames, so on and so forth. And in most cases, that's the struggle of most of us. That's the struggle, especially for the layman, just to do the right thing and to be a good person. And the month of Ramadan is an opportunity, inshallah ta'ala, for that side, that scale to be what? Tipped a little bit. You get a little more leverage now, right? Inshallah ta'ala. So with that being said, the ulama of Islam, they say that an-nafsul ammaratu bis-su, the soul that orders and commands you to do evil, is one of the reasons why people make sin. And it's one of the reasons why people fall into their iman diminishing or their iman suffering, because the nafs calls you to evil. But how was the nafs made? Was the nafs made with the evil command? Or was the nafs made inclining towards good, but with the ability to also incline towards evil? And you trained your nafs to do the bad things, physically, spiritually, and what? Mentally. So oftentimes, many of us, we're working to rewire our nufus and our brains to go back to the natural fitrah of purity. Everyone understand this? So it's a constant struggle in Ramadan and outside of Ramadan. I would say in Ramadan, try your best to do as much damage as you possibly can to your enemy. Even if you can't beat them. You can't knock it out, but do damage. And gain as much momentum and confidence for Shawwal. The fight isn't over. Just because you did the right thing for Ramadan 30 days straight doesn't mean that the fight is what? It's over. But you've definitely landed some good blows. No doubt. So the fight afterwards should be relatively easier. You have more confidence. You see what I'm saying to you? So you got to be mindful of that. You have to be mindful of that Ramadan is only 1 month out the year. And it's meant for you to make Toba, get clean, and inshallah ta'ala, it is the process or is the beginning steps of you remaining clean. You see what I'm saying to you? So the nafs, you have to fight it. At what time would be easier for you to fight your nafs when the shayateen are locked down? Perfect, inshallah. With regards to the nafs that commands the soul to do evil, what better time would it be than Ramadan? The shayateen are locked up, the doors of heaven are opened up, the believers come to the masjid, the distraction of food and drink and sex, it's not there as much. It's reality. So it's a means of, if you're doing well, to really, really start, doing really well. And if you're doing bad, at least get your head above the water. But the struggle isn't what? No, it's not over. It's only beginning. But you've done severe damage to your opponent now. And you've gained some more confidence, which will lead you, inshallah, to win in the fight in the later rounds. And what? The later rounds, huh? Those body punches, huh? The legs can't move as, huh? That's the whack-a-that. You understand what I'm saying? So that's my nasiha. With regards to the daily struggle and the struggles that the laymen, Muslims, and the students of knowledge and scholars as well have. All of us have these problems and these issues. Some of us more than others. And the nafsa, Allah, He tells us in the Quran, Surah Yusuf, about the nafs. Amaratun bis-su'. Except for those whom my Lord has mercy on. So I think that should be the focus in this month, is to have a Ramadan resolution. Try to focus on one major bad habit, one sin that you're making, pinpoint your efforts on getting rid of that sin. And the other sins, you work on them with the intention of getting rid of them. Bid'Allah ta'ala. And Allah knows best. Oh yeah, come further, Sheikh.
Expound on how the shaitan is chained up.
Can you expound on how the shaitan is chained up? There lies no doubt. The Prophet ﷺ has said these words: وَصُفِّدَتِ الشَّيَاطِينَ إِذَا جَاءَ Ramadan. When Ramadan comes. So the ulama, they differ on this hadith with regards to its meaning, its interpretation. But no doubt he said those words, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. All the shayateen locked up. None of the shayateen are locked up. Some of the shayateen being locked up. 3 main categories of interpreting the hadith. 3 main categories of interpreting the hadith. Category number 1 is to say that all of the shayateen are locked up. Or if not all of them, or let's just keep it simple now, they're all locked up. As it says, وَصُفِّدَتِ الشَّيَاطِينَ. The devils are locked up. They're locked up. How are they locked up? In what world? What type of way? That's ilmul ghayb. It's from the unseen. That our minds cannot comprehend, but we do understand the words. They're locked up. Where? How? Allah. Ala kulli shay'in qadir. And others, they say no. Rather, the hadith is figurative. And the Prophet is telling us that when Ramadan comes, people's souls are cleaner, their sins are less, and there's still shayateen out there, but the evil is not as what? It's not as strong. And others, they say, and the reason why they say that is because, well, one of the reasons is, they say people still make what? The world doesn't stop being a dangerous place in Ramadan. It's still what? Killing and murdering and bombing. And who's behind these things? You understand this? And others, they say rather some shayateen are locked down. The evil ones, the marada, the ones that are very vicious and malevolent. As far as the other shayateen, which have less strength, less vigor, less malice and hatred for the son of Adam with regards to misguiding him, then they are not necessarily what? Knocked down. And Allah knows best, Sheikh. Any other questions? Fadl, Sheikh.
I wasn't here when you first started off, so I don't know whether you covered it or not. But in regards to people using computers or notifications to wake them up during the month of Ramadan.
Okay.
To start their prayer out there.
They're fast. Okay, that's suhoor, okay. With regards to using notifications for suhoor, computers, phones, tablets, etc. As long as it's accurate, there's nothing wrong with that. But the problem is, or the issue is, how do we know what's accurate? What have I studied from these sciences? Oftentimes we're following, but who are you following? Someone who's specialized in that field? Something that's trustworthy? With the guidance of someone who has the proper Islamic knowledge? Not best. Or just following anyone and anything. Okay? So there lies no doubt. We live in a world of microchips and wireless data, and this is the world in which we live. There's no doubt about that. We live in a silicone world in 2019. So if we benefit from technology or the calculation and other things, why not benefit in what? In fasting, as long as it's accurate. Okay? But many people, they make a mistake with regards to imsak. They think that there's a time in which you have to stop eating and Fajr has not come in yet. How can that be? Does the Quran say that? Or rather, the Quran, according to some ulama, they say that the Quran does not mandate a person to stop eating hatta yatabayyana, until it becomes clear to you, the two threads. And if a person isn't clear that the Fajr has come in, he's still allowed to what? Wa kulu washrabu. Eat and drink until the threads become clear. Tell you, eat, huh? Right now? Sure, of course. No doubt about that, Akhi. We didn't drive the landing city without no fish, Akhi. What is this, Akhi? May Allah guide you. Huh? So at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with using this technology with the condition that the technology is what? Accurate. And also, we have to learn the limit of these things in which you're stranded. Your GPS isn't working, your phone is off, and you have no clue of the basic primary directions. Something's wrong. You don't know the basic direction, north, south, east, west. What are you going to do when your phone breaks or the data goes off or the satellite crashes? Then what? And the same applies to times of prayer. The basics. Maghrib, when it comes in, we live in a city, there are buildings, there are airplanes, there are towers, but the general concept that is Maghrib time. Maghrib does not mean that it's pitch black dark outside. Basic principles. That's very important. And Allah knows best. Fadal.
When it comes to Toba, there's conditions, right? So at the end of Ramadan, if you still have held in your heart for another Muslim, when you see each other, there's no salams. Is this a sign that your Ramadan wasn't successful, that the two people haven't rectified the affair? And it's clear that they have issues, but they don't rectify it Ramadan after Ramadan.
With regards to Toba, repentance, and a person says that I made Toba for slandering a Muslim or fighting with a Muslim, or he did me wrong, and I boycotted him more than 3 days, whatever. We have beef, as we say, right? Whether it's Kobe or beef, huh? Tell you, sirloin, huh? Marbled, right, Sheikh? Ribeye or flank, whatever. I tell you, strip steak, brisket, what? Tell you. So two Muslims have beef. They supposedly have made Toba. After the month of Ramadan, he's still mad and angry. He got an ice grill. Tough guy face in front of his Muslim brother, no salams, get out of here, so on and so forth. Is that a sign that the Toba wasn't right or the Ramadan wasn't right, it wasn't accepted, so on and so forth? Yani, I mean, let's look at it like this. People will differ and they will fight. There's nothing wrong with that. Not saying there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, like the reality, accepting the phenomenon that human beings will bicker. That's what I mean by this. That's nothing which is strange. People have disagreements. Okay? But how are we settling the disagreement though? Let's say, for example, it's a worldly issue, not a religious issue, a worldly issue, in which I'm not speaking to you. It's permissible, but no longer than 3 days. After the 3 days, we have to sit to the carpet and talk about it. You still may be a little sore. You still may be a little upset. But he apologized, you apologized, you gave him back the money. Whatever is the problem, we clarified it. You have to fight yourself to give him a handshake and a hug. Even if you're still a little sore. You hurt me, Akhi. You did this to me, you said this about me, you did this to my property, I'm still a little upset at you. Or I still may be a little what? Bent on doing you some physical harm. But it's upon you to do what now? make jihad to shake his hand and to smile. It's upon you to do that. It's upon you to fight it. And if you don't, after you made Toba, after you came together, you rectified the situation, after 30 days of fasting and crying, reading the Quran, then there lies no doubt that could mean that something was wrong with what you did. Whether it wasn't sincere, whether you didn't do it properly, something isn't right now. I'm a little sore. I can't smile 100%, but I'm at least say Assalamu alaikum and try to give you what? A humble smile. But I still got a mad face. After we made up, after you apologize, I apologize. I made Toba. Something isn't what? Something is clearly not right. And for you to keep that malice in your heart against another Muslim without the proper, legitimate Islamic reasons is something wrong with your heart. To hate a Muslim with such intensity, but to see a non-Muslim and you smile in their face, something's wrong. Something is definitely wrong with that. And there's signs that Toba was accepted, just like there's signs that the Toba what? Wasn't accepted. Ulama, they've explained this. They've mentioned this. There are alamat. Just like there's signs that Ramadan was accepted. And there are signs only Allah knows, but there are signs which Ramadan, which what? Wasn't accepted, unfortunately. We ask Allah for protection from that. Are there any other questions from the brothers here? Or the sisters? Tayyip. Take a few from online before we stop. It says here, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum, Mufti. May Allah bless you. Wa alaikum assalam to you as well. Hi, hello. Salam. Wa alaikum assalam, loud and clear, Sheikh. Tayyib. HK from Manchester. Sheikh, you mentioned knowledge is that you can take to the bathroom. Could you confirm the phrase in the Arabic and who said it and where can we find the quote? It's something which I've never read one specific tabi'i saying, but it's something that you'll find some ulama saying that some of the salaf used to say in general. Kana yuqal. They used to say, Kullu ilmin la tadkhulu bihi ila al-hammam falaysa bi'ilm. The knowledge that you can't take with you to the bathroom isn't knowledge. What's meant by that, those who made that statement, is that the true knowledge is the knowledge which is what? Memorized. And not the knowledge in a book or on a tablet, which has Allah's name in the book, and you're not supposed to take it in the hammam. That's what's meant by that statement. Those are not the words of the Prophet ﷺ. Everyone understand this? The words of some of the Salaf al-Salih. Okay? Is it permissible to mention Allah's name in the bathroom? Can you take something with Allah's name on in the bathroom? It's not necessarily haram. Okay? Is it the best thing to do, but it's not necessarily a haram thing to do. But what they mean by that statement is memorize. That's what they mean. Is that if you're only a book scholar, you're not actually a what? A scholar. And that does not mean that there's no value in books. Of course, they had books. They wrote things. It doesn't mean that you can't refer and reference to sources. Writing a book, writing something, having a debate, having your sources, reading from it, a khutbah class, nothing wrong with that. But it doesn't mean that the moment that the tablet is closed, I can't say anything. That's what they meant by that. Everyone understand this? That's what they meant by that. As far as where you can find it, then inshallah ta'ala, you can find it. If you wanted one specific book, I would tell you to go to the book Al-Hifdhu of our Sheikh Abdul Qayyum As-Suhaybani. He wrote a book on memory, asbabuhu, ajaibuhu, etc., wasailuhu. If my memory serves me correctly, which my hifd isn't the best, I believe he mentioned that athar in that book. If you can't find the book in the bookshop, you may be able to find it online in PDF. And the statement is well known, has been mentioned by many scholars, that statement. And Allah knows best. Fadl. La. You understand? The knowledge that you can't take into the what? The bathroom isn't what? You see why they said that now? Meaning what?
You gotta catch it.
Al-Hifd. That's the title book. Al-Hifd.
Real quick, Sheikh.
And he talks about, he says, asbabuhu, its ways, ajaibuhu, the wonders, meaning the different stories of the people of the past who memorize crazy stuff. Inshallah. If you can't find a book, let me know. I'll assist you in getting the book. Bidnillahi ta'ala. Faddal ya akhi.
Sheikh, you mentioned in the talk about which is the right position. You yourself seeing, that the Ramadan has started, or someone telling you.
Okay.
And a lot of times that there's been a khilaf on that issue.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it to be that they're both correct.
Okay.
but the closest position is that you yourself see it.
With regards to sighting the moon, when does Ramadan commence? Calculation. This moon, California, Texas, Peru, Saudi, Turkey, etc. It goes back to what you have the ability to do. Do you have the ability to accurately look for the moon? When do you look for the moon? I'm not talking about you, but there are many people, they think that you look for the moon after Maghrib. They think that. After sunset, you look for a moon. No, the moon has a specific window. And if you don't catch that window, you will not catch the moon. And you'll think that it didn't appear, but it was there. And there was a time. And it's not necessarily after sunset. Everyone understand this? There's a fiqh to it. So what do you have the ability to do, first and foremost? And then we have the concept of unity. I feel that this is right. I feel that this is incorrect. But it's going to make a rift in the masjid. It's going to make a rift in the city. But it's still problematic, because what if a person says it is impermissible to start fasting based off of this person's report? He didn't see the moon. I know he didn't. He told me that he went 30 minutes after Maghrib to look for the moon. How could he have seen it? Let alone what they say, that it was impossible for the moon to be sighted in Pleasantville, New Jersey on the 5th of May. Impossible. The new moon birth wasn't in sight of that East Coast sector, Northeast. So can I go along with the community, even though there's something in my heart that I feel is what? Erroneous. That's a problem. That's a what? And that's why we brought up the concept of secular versus Islamic. These different khilafat now. Because every man for himself in America. I can do what I want to do. I don't feel that you're starting Ramadan the right day. I think you're wrong. And I think it's haram what you're doing. Can I just go along with the flow to keep the unity? That's an issue that needs to be investigated. Rather someone or versus someone who's just doubtful. I'm unsure. So I'm going to go with everybody else. Everyone understand this? It's a huge difference now. I didn't look for the moon. I don't have the time to look for the moon. And that's just not. I work every day. My job is to not look for the moon. I'm no scholar. I'm no type of astronomer. Bismillah. That's not the same as a person feeling in their heart that it's what? Haram. Or in the same process of calculation. If you feel that the calculation is impermissible, it cannot be used, it's invalid. Can you go with the community that's using the what? Calculation. It's not like a country in which you live, and which is the day in which the people make the iftar, the day in which the people make the adha, the day in which the people go out to the Eid, in which you go with the community. Meaning, you travel from one land and you go to an Islamic country, and they're a day behind or a day ahead. You have to go with that country. Even if it means you're fasting an extra day, or even if it means that you're going to fast what? One less. You make up the day after the Eid, because you have to stick with the Jama'ah there. We live in the United States. Does that apply? So on and so forth. That's why we mention that what? In that point. You see what I'm saying to you? So stick with the safest view. Take precaution. Take precaution and think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. As a wise man once said. Think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. Make an excuse for them, and maybe I don't got it right. Maybe it's something I need to study more. Maybe I need to look into it. Maybe I'm not getting it 100%. These are things which leads you to a conclusion, inshallah ta'ala. Wallahu alam. Question says, Lutfi Hillman, Barakallah Feek, may Allah bless you. Assalamu alaikum from Yorkshire, UK. Alaikum salam to Allah. UK from London. Can we do our dentures with dental adhesive while fasting in the month of Ramadan? Inshallah, the dental the adhesive that's used for the dentures, if you're not swallowing it, you're not eating it, drinking it, there's no type of taste or no type of nutrition in your body, whether you rinsed out your mouth or they cleaned it off, labas. On him going to the dentist in general, I would say try to postpone it. Do it before or after Ramadan. Okay? With regards to them putting certain things in your mouth, them getting you needles and anesthetics, certain things, it can become problematic. Even if the thing itself doesn't actually make the fast to be broken, but you're treading on what?
They're nice.
Thin ice. And if it's unnecessary, then just wait. Emergency, different story. A necessity, different story. If it can be avoided and postponed, that's the best thing to do with regards to any type of dental procedure. And Allah knows best. Next question. MashaAllah. Ramadan Mubarak. May Allah bless you. If one suffers from chronic pain, is it okay to break fast if the pain is unbearable? Yes, it's permissible. It's permissible to break your fast if the pain is unbearable. To take the painkillers, to eat for the painkillers if the pain is unbearable. 08 from Riyadh, KSA. Do you get the reward for praying until the Imam finishes, even if you skip the extra tahajjud in the last 10 nights? If you start with the Imam, you completed 4 Fard, 2 Sunnah, 8 Qiyam, 3 Witr. Al-Muhim, you start with the Imam and you stop with the Imam. You start with the Imam and what? Stop with the Imam. If they stop and make an extra prayer, so on and so forth, is that even the same Imam? Is that even the same prayer? Everyone understand this? Manchester, UK. 8 rakat or 20 rakat for Taraweeh. Inshallah, do 8. Do 8 rakat and 3 for Witr. Mufti, did you come across the hadith that whoever learns Arabic, he is an Arab? Is the hadith am I about to clarify beside the language of the Quran? I'm not really sure on exactly what's meant here. It says Hussein Ali Noor. Please state where you're from if you already haven't. And inshallah, we'll try our best to answer your question. Jazakallah khairan. Hussein Ali Noor, are you serious? You sound crazy. Why in the world would you want to be an Arab? Type. We remind the brothers once again, if you wish to refute or clarify or argue or whatever you want to do besides ask a question, Jazakallah khairan. May Allah bless you. May Allah reward you. But not here. You can give classes, lectures, say what's right, wrong, elsewhere. And it's another very important point, a reminder with regards to Mufti Q&A. You go through the comments, you find all types of scholastic debates, refutations. That's tayyib. Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khairan. But guess what you should do? You should do what? You should make your what? Your own Q&A channel, in which you can say what's right and what's wrong, who's misguided, who's misled. Fadl. Why are you in the comment section being a keyboard warrior? Everyone understands? Establish your own, inshallah. If you have the haqq, tayyib. But do what? Establish your own. Very important point, huh? And we said it to everyone or anybody. You should not be on a HadithDisciple unless you're trying to benefit. You're trying to start a fight. You're trying to refute. You're trying to find this. You should do that what? Elsewhere. Because you may have a major problem on Yawm al-Qiyamah of going to a circle of knowledge, physical, metaphysical virtue, and with other than the intention of al-istifad, of benefiting. And the ulama, the scholars of Islam, they have mentioned this. They have mentioned this. Or why you go to a sitting of knowledge. Only to benefit, to test, to argue, to boast, to find mistake to this. There's improper intention. So you have to be mindful of this. And Allah knows best. Moving forward. ZO, Doha, Qatar. Many times there isn't enough time for Salat al-Isha to do adhkar and sunnah prayer and catch the takbirat al-ihram for Taraweeh. What should one prioritize in that case? What should you do? What should you prioritize? If you want to catch the full Taraweeh with the Imam, then prioritize the Taraweeh. Making the dhikr, what the ulama of Islam say regarding making up missed nawafil prayers, missed rawatib, prayers that you normally make and you've missed them for an excuse, and the permissibility of making them up. That can be done later. But the Taraweeh is what? At a set time. So I would say prioritize that. As far as if you can salam out the prayer, make the brief dhikr, make your 2 raka'ah briefly before the Imam starts the Taraweeh, then that's best. Or even if you caught the Imam a little bit after the Takbiratul Ihram. Or even better than that is for the Imam to give the people a what? A quick 5-minute intermission before he starts the Taraweeh. And Allah knows best. MK, Sydney, Australia. What do you advise parents who treat their own grown and mature son like an infant and don't give him his own independence or freedom, both in deen and dunya. I would advise those parents with the fear of Allah, and I would say that it's a disservice to the son to treat him like that. Is it fair? Is it right? The sheer fact that you're crippling your son. If you treat a grown man like a baby and sheltering him and smothering him and controlling him, you're not giving him the ability to make his own decisions in life. And what is he going to do when he's put in a situation in which you're not there? Because you're dead, or because you're sick, or because you're in a different country. He may fall a tremendous victim to the wolves out there. If you don't have the ability to make critical decision skills, or to make a critical decision, you're disservicing your son. And we say this to people all the time. By spoiling your child so much, you're not helping them, you're not treating them well, you're actually hurting them. You're not training them for the real world. You're not training them for the outside world. And may Allah prevent, when they're put into that situation, they may become a victim. And they may be a hopeless, helpless sheep beneath the fangs of a vicious wolf. Deen or dunya. So, no doubt, protecting your children from evil, providing the things for your children, making the right decisions if your children can't do them themselves, that's limited. But you have to eventually train them. Son, you got to pick yourself. And you can do it on a small scale. Take your son to the ice cream parlor. What should I get, Abby? You got to pick, son. Which one do you get? Don't worry about it. You got to pick what you want. You got to pick the ice cream that you want. You have to instill this in their minds to trust you, to do the things that Abby and Umi do, but at the same time, you have to develop your own personality. And you have to realize that that's a waste of money buying that ice cream cone. You can get the same size with more ice cream, the M&Ms on top, with a different price. You have to learn these skills from a young age. You have to teach them how to defend themselves. You have to teach your son how to save money. You have to teach your daughter how to do these things, how to fear Allah when you're not around. Give them opportunities of freedom. Here, son, you're 17 years old, 18 years old, take the car. We'll be back in 3 days. See you later. Put him out there. See what he does. See what he does. And he may realize how hard it is to maintain a car. I don't have no money for gas. Can you send me some money? No, we can't. I crashed the car. Okay, no problem. You have to do this. Or I didn't have this paperwork. Well, you have to sit in jail until we get back. Honestly, sometimes you have to force them to develop these skills, and then they appreciate your guidance even more. You understand what I'm saying to you? They appreciate your guidance even more. Leave the car keys. He's too young. They don't have a permit or a license, and they take the car and they crash the car. They call you in the hospital. They call you from jail. I can't help you. You got to sit there. You shouldn't have touched the keys. Now you understand why I say you can't just ride around like that? So oftentimes, smothering your children with care and protection, it may seem like a good thing, keeping them from the dunya, homeschooling them, this, that, but oftentimes it's a disservice to the children, especially a son who's supposed to be an imam of a household and the leader of a household. What can he be an imam of? And his whole life he's been smothered and pampered. And this is a problem that many people they have, unfortunately. May Allah help us all. Also, the concept of people being control freaks, it's a widespread problem. Micromanagement, it's a widespread problem among many Muslim parents. They want to run everything. They want to manage everything. That's incorrect. And let alone the fact that it's incorrect Islamically, but it's also, as I said, you're doing a major disservice to your children, because they will have to learn how to do things by themselves one day when you're not around. And Allah knows best. May Allah help us all. Next question says, or if you can you read the questions up, Amir? Do I don't have to keep scrolling back up? Assalamu alaikum. Where can we get the booklet? HadithDisciple.com. Jazakallah khair, Omar. Awesome answer the question. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum to Eid. SR, Seattle, Washington. During Ramadan, what should one do if they have a canker sore or their lip bleeds? I have to go to school and I can't spit out whatever I want to. Please answer, because my last Ramadan was kind of messed up due to this issue. Bleeding doesn't break the fast. If you bleed from your mouth, it doesn't necessarily break the fast. There are many of the ulama of Islam who say that getting hijama doesn't break the fast, let alone a small amount of blood that comes from the lip. So if you have to put some type of paper or tissue or something on it, if you spit out the blood, whatever, it doesn't necessarily break the fast. Many ulama hold the view if you spit up and you vomit, it doesn't break the fast. Let alone a little bit of blood from the lip. Inshallah, it won't break your fast. Cover the blood, inshallah ta'ala. What book is Mufti reading from? I just joined. Tafsir Kareem ar-Rahman. Tafsir of Ibn Sa'di, rahimahullah ta'ala. Ramadan Mubarak, everyone. Jazakallah khairan. A.E. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Wish you all Ramadan Mubarak, full of ibadat and qiyam, being accepted by Almighty Allah, your brother from Libya. Jazakallah khairan. Don't forget us making dua before making iftar that Allah unite our ummah and stop killing each other. Fi amanillah. Jazakallah khairan, akhi. May Allah bless the Muslims in Libya and help the Muslims in Libya and bring peace to the situation in Libya and all around the world. Ameen. Sirat is safe. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Muallim, teacher. Guys, it's Ramadan today. Sunday in the United States. I don't think we've started fasting yet. Assalamu alaikum. Is it permissible to drink water if you feel though you're going to pass out before fasting? Where are you from? Please mention your city and your town. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Okay, Jazakallah khairan. If you feel like you're going to get harmed by not drinking water, you're going to fall down and hit your head and become harmed and hurt, break your fast. It's either permissible, recommended, or obligatory to do so. Not to harm yourself in Al-Islam. Allah is all forgiving. You have to take care of the body that Allah has given you. Allah knows best. OS from Columbia, Missouri. May Allah bless you, Sheikh. Can you clarify your statement that if God wanted to send a man down to die for everyone's sins, he could, as it seems that this is being misinterpreted? I don't see how it would be misinterpreted. If Allah wanted to do that, he would have done that. If Allah wanted to have a son, as he mentions, he would have done that. If Allah had willed this, he would have what? He would have done that. Allah has the ability to do all things. We as Muslims do not believe that one man was sent down to earth to absolve the people of their sins. But, once more, if Allah had willed that, then what? What's complicated about that statement? I'm honestly confused. What's complicated about that statement? If Allah willed, he would have what? He would have done that. Just like anything else, if that was the what? The will of Allah. And we know what Allah wills, what he does, because of what happens on earth. And that which we didn't see, and we were not alive, we know that from the authentic sources. Do we have the authentic sources to say that Isa came down, he's God incarnate, or a third of God, or whatever they say with regards to the Trinity, for the sins of men? Does that state that in an authentic source? Does it state that in an authentic source, a book that is free from misinterpretation, a book which is free from distortion and perversion? And with that being said, a very strange thing, the concept of, and I'm not going to keep dwelling on these things, but just to give you a little bit of insight, saying that Christianity and Judaism is an Abrahamic faith, quote unquote. Is that permissible to make that statement? Is it impermissible to make that statement? Can you say that that's an Abrahamic faith, regardless of what you mean, but can you just make the wording? And that these statements in which, or these religions which have tahrif and tabdil, distortion and replacement. Things that were a part of the scripture were distorted and twisted and mixture of speech of men, speech of religious scholars with the specific word of God. Or tabdil, in which they took this passage out and put another passage in. That was from the speech of the disciples of Jesus, for example, quote unquote. Or of another prophet, or this one, and it's supposed to be the actual speech of what? Jesus, or the speech of God Almighty. Are you understanding this? No problem. So does it not state in the video, did the speaker not say to the Christian man that is a well-known fact that these books have been distorted, things have been taken out, things have been replaced, and things have been what? Clearly redone. Was that not stated in there? Yeah. So that clearly sheds light on the whole concept of the wording and the usage of the word Abrahamic faiths. Speaking to someone who calls himself a Jew or a Christian, who's supposed to believe in the original concept of what? Monotheism. Everyone understand this? So, cutting and pasting and interpreting someone's speech how you want to do it is a cardinal sin in the world of al-ilm. Al-amana al-ilmiya. You have to have integrity And you can't cut and paste and interpret and mix and match what you want and leave off something which clearly explains. Everyone understand this? So let's ask ourselves the question now. Is it a specific prohibition to use that word? Do we have a specific text in which it's prohibited to use the word Abrahamic faiths? Do we? If we do, then there's no ijtihad. You can't say it. If we don't have a specific wording, then it goes back to the what? The intention. What do you mean by that? فصل لنا. What do you mean by this? الأديان الإبراهيمية. What do you mean by that? ما هو مقصودك? What do you mean by this? So Shaykh Islam rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentions al-alfadh al-mujmala, statements that have not been mentioned in the Quran and the Sunnah, and they can have more than one what? Meaning. So you have to look at the intended meaning of the one who's speaking. What do you mean by that statement? Is it best to avoid that statement? You shouldn't make that word tight. No problem. It's not an issue. Saying that's not an issue. But to say that it's wrong to use the term, and there's no specific proof against it, and the intention is clearly explained, then obviously you're now going into a very difficult corner in the war right now. Because you're making it prohibited on something which is not directly prohibited, and the meaning is clearly valid. Or the usage and the intention of the one who's speaking is there. Everyone understand this? So, yani, we have to look at the speech with no type of bigotries, and you have to be totally impartial. What was meant by this statement? What is the ruling on making the statement? So on and so on and so forth. What is known? And what is the whole purpose of speaking to a Jew or a Christian? To call them to what? Or to affirm and acknowledge what they're upon today. Everyone understand this? So I don't see the difficulty in the statement. If Allah wanted to do something, he would have what? He would have done it. If that was his will. And this is very dangerous rationale now. And that's because there are people who aren't Muslims who have a problem with many things that we believe as Muslims. And that's what the guy mentioned in the park. How did Allah allow the books to be what? Changed. He said this. And he used very disrespectful words as an argument against us. He says, you're saying that God is stupid because he allowed the books to be changed and to be perverted and to be distorted. What do we believe as Muslims? That happened or didn't happen? We believe that it what? Why? Because it was what? It was the will of Allah. And if Allah didn't want it to happen, it would have what? What's the difficulty of that? Just like it wasn't the will of Allah for the Quran to be perverted and distorted. It was not his will. He didn't, Lam yasha'illah. Allah did not will that. That was not his will. And he allowed those other things to happen. So what Allah wants to happen, nothing can stop. No one can stop. Either it took place or it didn't take place. Everyone understand this? And Allah Azza wa Jalla has not told us that he sent down Isa for the forgiveness of the sin of men. He didn't tell us that. Not in the Quran, nor do we believe that that is in the original pure Injil. What the people call today the Bible, the Gospel, this version, that version, we're not responsible for that. We don't believe that it was in the original pure book, that he said, I'm one of three, and I am God, my Father. La, we don't believe that as Muslims. But if Allah willed that, then what? There's nothing, I don't see anything which could be problematic with that statement. And what can be a means of confusion with regards to that statement? Allah surely knows best. We ask him to bless us all with sincerity and with knowledge. And we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to allow our hearts to be pure for him and for only him. And if we criticize, let it be for the sake of Allah. And if we're criticized, allow us to take that criticism for the sake of Allah. But it has to go what? Both ways. Everyone understand? This is not just thing we advised him. And I also what? Advised you. Everyone understand this? This hypocrisy that we have? We've clarified his mistakes and he was too arrogant to take them. And what happens when someone's clarified your mistakes? What do you say? Do you accept them? No, you don't. You slander them and you call them names. And you use 1,000 red herrings as well. Everyone understand? This is reality. If I'm wrong, show me. Everyone understand this? So criticism is what? For both parties. I say something which is wrong, Jazakallah khairan. I've proven something that's wrong in your speech, you should say Jazakallah khairan. And thank the person and not attack them. And not slander them and call them names and malicious terms. Obviously that can't be the way of the Salaf al-Salih. In which is just a one-way street. We advise you and that's it. That's extremely dangerous to the Aqidah of Al-Islam. In which a person believes that they are saved and delivered from anything negative and wrong in this life and thereafter, and everyone else is the exact opposite. It's extremely dangerous. It's extremely dangerous. May Allah help us from that misguidance. I mean, moving forward before we stop. Sorry. Okay, you got the questions, Abu Amir?
Some of them are mentioned, but they don't have where they're from and all that.
Okay. Newcastle. Can I pirate the book Ramadan and fasting and just use it as a PDF for my family and friends from Newcastle? I'm not sure where they're from. There's nothing wrong with that. How do we understand the direction of Allah as explained by the Ash'aris? They say you can't say Allah is above as you have made Allah in a direction. There's no need to explain what they say. يَخَافُونَ رَبَّهُم مِّن فَوْقِهِمْ يَفْعَلُونَ مَا يُؤْمَرُونَ. Allah says they fear their Lord from above and they do what they're told. يَخَافُونَ رَبَّهُم مِّن فَوْقِهِمْ. They fear their Lord from, and they do what they're ordered to do. What Ash'ari say, Maturidi say, this one, the world will never stop what someone says. That's what Allah said. And Allah did not say this or that direction. And Allah did not say none of those things. He says, يَخَافُونَ رَبَّهُم مِّن فَوْقِهِمْ. Period. Done. What do you want after that? Fadal. I think you got to move up. Go further up in the chat. Because the people won't, as soon as the class starts, they start sending in the questions. So you can't just stop from the beginning for those who are in line waiting. You got me?
That's right now. That's right after the question.
Fadal.
Assalamu alaikum. During Ramadan, does the sihr one is afflicted with become light due to shaitan being locked up?
Does the sihr become light? The sihr does upon someone become lighter in Ramadan because of the shayateen being locked up? It's possible. Mumkin. It depends, but it's possible.
Abdul Rahman doesn't say where he's from. Assalamu alaikum, brother Mufti. Is distance sufficient as a sutra? Because if you can't stop someone from crossing you beyond your arm's length, then distance considered or acts as a sutra.
No, take a sutra. The Prophet ﷺ, he never said take distance. He said take a sutra and get close to the sutra. Those are the words of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ. If you don't have a sutra, then that's a different story. I don't have a sutra in front of me, so therefore you estimate the distance. Not for the one praying, but the one who has to walk. I have to go past this brother. Hypothetically speaking, the sutra would normally be there. So I walk, that best. But that's no excuse for you not to take a sutra yourself. Wallahu alam.
Adam Ibrahim doesn't say where he's from. Assalamu alaikum. Can you explain the hadith that says that the sun...
Next question. You gotta mention where they're from. The format.
Tell you. New CA, SR, Seattle. For your Arabic series, you have the PDF to the Iqra Arabic book. Is this permissible to use or is it pirated? In addition, how can I get the book? Book 2.
Tayyib.
Pirated.
If it's pirating, you shouldn't be asking about what? About using it. At the end of the day, the concept of copyrights. Is it considered to pirate someone's book if you take their book and download it and use it and benefit from it? Some people say yes. I spent years writing this book. I spent money making this book, editing this book. My hard sweat, my labor. Why should you just reap the benefits of it for free? That's unfair to me, to the publisher, the printing house, etc. And they have a clear point of view in that. And others may say, rather, it depends on how old the book is. Is the copyright still in effect or not? Others may say, I'm not stealing it. I'm not printing it. I don't have the book. The book is unavailable in stores. It's out of print. We want to learn and benefit from the book. If it came down to it, I don't think that the author would have a problem with us learning from his book in this situation. One may possibly say that. So it all depends on perception. Sight is weak and perception is what? Strong. It all depends on how you look at it. Wallahu alam.
Furqan Nuruddin, online Arabic course?
Online Arabic course. I would say there are many. It depends on how much time you have, how much Arabic you know, how much money you have. If I had to pick one off the top of my head, which I really don't like doing, alhamdulillah, we met brother Abu Nusayba in the UK just now from Spain. Okay, and he showed us his program that he put together and his concept of teaching Arabic properly and correctly in a revolutionary way. Inshallah ta'ala, if you check out his program as a beginner, then hopefully, bidnillahi ta'ala, that's a good one to start on. Inshallah. I think you can catch him on social media as Mr. Halal Money. He goes as, I believe so. I'm dead serious. Wallahi, I'm dead serious, man. Mr. Halal Money. Google it. Google it, Sheikh. Fadda.
Abdullah Brown from Brooklyn, New York. Assalamu alaikum. How do you know which setting or calculation to go by when using a Salat app?
Ask your local imam. Ask your resident scholar. Which setting should you use when using a Salah app? Which calculation? Hanafi, Islamic World League. Remember back then the Asr watches?
Yeah.
And then it came out with the Fajr watches. But the original, the Asr ones I thought were better back in the day. And you set the watch and ask you what madhab are you following? Or which calculation? You say Qura, Rabita, al-Islami, etc. At the end of the day, if you're confused, go to your local resident scholar. Go to the local sheikh at your masjid and ask him his advice.
NYG, NYM, UNC, that's North Carolina. What type of internet is being used for the live videos? Is there a way that they can donate for the, I guess, to make them stronger?
Tight. The question is from where?
UNC is North Carolina.
Tight. What internet is being used? Khairan, inshallah. Sometimes, everybody bear with me now. It's a very important question. Very important question. To improve and to enhance the quality of the videos in the stream. There's no doubt about that. Cameras, microphones, connection. But oftentimes we're on the move. We're mobile. Wherever we are, we have to use what we have. You may be in a place in which your own data is very strong. You may be in a place in which there's Wi-Fi and it's good, it's clear. Or you may be in a place, a room, in which there's no service and it cuts on and off. What can you do? You stream it, it's choppy, it's pixelated, it comes in and out. Sometimes you can't what? It's nothing that you can do. As far as if there's a way in which a person says, I want to donate some type of portable, strong modem that you can always have with you, Mufti, blah, 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 tell you, no problem. If you want to donate that or contribute that, that's fine. Inshallah ta'ala, there's the GoFundMe page and the Patreon, all of that is on the website if that's what you want to do. Jazakallah khairan. But oftentimes we're in places in which what? You have to use what you have. You may be in a place in which the services are horribly poor and you try the best that you can. And we believe it's better to give something and leave with what? Nothing. Wallahu alam.
Aisha K, London, UK. Assalamu alaikum. May Allah bless you. Do you have any advice for a single mother who has a young son?
Question from a sister who has a single, or she's a single mother with a young son. What advice? Many pieces of advice. Make dua for your son. Make dua for him. Ask Allah to rectify him, to keep him safe, to make him strong, mentally, spiritually, and physically. Be kind to him. Don't be mean to him. Don't have too much harshness on him. Discipline him, but don't push him too far away. Okay? Also, he needs a role model in his life. If that's you remarrying, if that's uncle or grandfather or brother fulan at the masjid, but he needs some type of positive male role model in his life. And he cannot just live with his mother being his only role model. It doesn't work like that. You can have a beautiful mother, you learn from your mother loves you, she gives you so much care, but it needs a man that he has to be able to have contact with, to show him the ropes of life, how to be a man, how to be clean, how to dress, how to smell good, what colognes to use. People, they underestimate these things. That's the reality of life. You think about it when you were younger. Your grandfather, your uncle, your dad, the colognes that he had on his dresser. And you understand how to smell nice, how to clean yourself, how to wear shoes, how to fight. It's reality. You have to learn these things. Someone has to teach you the ropes of life, let alone what? Islam. Let alone what? Islam. So that these things, they can't be provided by a woman. You can help. You can make a, you can buy him something, but it's not the same as actually being a what? A brother, a man, whoever that man is. So he has to have not just one, but he has as many positive male role models in his life. Many. And if that means you getting remarried to a good brother, that's what you have to do. If that means you allowing him to stay with his grandfather and to live with his uncle or the brothers at the masjid or whoever it may be. And I want to say the bitter reality, it's not necessarily the best thing to do, but I'm just talking about the reality of the inner city. Many people, you may grow up and it's the drunk at the end of the block who is your role model. The guy in the bar, he's the one who taught you how to hold your hands in a fight. He's the one who told you how to do this. Or this guy who's a pimp. Or he was in Vietnam. This person on drugs. This person, this criminal, he may have been the one who what? Schooled you how to survive. It's unfortunate, but it is a reality. And those who have some type of guidance and some type of life training, inshallah, they're better than those who have what? Nothing. As I said before, because their mothers smother them or shelter them 100%, they become victims of people. They don't know how to fend for themselves. They don't know how to do anything when they grow up. And it can't be like that. So what's important is someone has to be the role model, whoever that person is. Grandfather, uncle, brother, somebody. Stepfather, but it has to be what? Someone. And many parents, they make a mistake in this. They feel that it has to be the father. But your son doesn't like you. Or you can't speak to your son, or you have problems with your son. If I was a father, it doesn't matter to me. I would love for me to be the role model of my son. But if my son doesn't want to take it from me, you take it from me, man, that's fine. As long as it's what? Somebody that's positive, that's showing him the ropes of the deen and of the what? Of the dunya. The deen and the dunya. And oftentimes there's certain things that if you don't have in order in the dunya, you can't do right in the deen. That's a fact. That's a fact. If you don't know how to protect yourself, you lose your life, you lose your freedom. You're in jail, you have this disease, you have this problem, you can't fast, you can't pray, you can't seek knowledge. So the dunya is extremely important. So the young men, they need brothers that are positive, that are strong, and that are striving to do the right thing and show them the ropes. And last but not least, you have to explain to your son that it is his duty and his obligation to empty his cup and to accept the teaching from those brothers. Because many young brothers are like that as well. They don't want to hear anything. They don't want to learn anything. They think they know everything. Or get out of here, you're not my dad. Or you can't tell me anything, you old, you this and that. No, you can't have that ignorant approach like that. You got to be willing to learn from whoever is offering you the ropes of life. And don't you realize this brother may have been in jail for 20 years to have learned this. And he's teaching it to you for now for free. You understand? This person may have been strung out on this drug his whole life. And he's teaching you a gem of wisdom. Don't ever do drugs. Stay away from crime. He lost his whole life. He's giving you the gem without any cost. So you have to be mindful of this as young men. You got to humble yourself to take the teachings, take the gems. Wallahu a'lam.
UK, London, can you speak about 18-degree fire?
Khayr, inshallah. What time is it now? What time is it then?
It should be made. It should be made. It's in. Yeah.
Khayr, inshallah. We're going to stop here. As far as the question with regards to 18-degree fajr from London, and if you can, akhi, maybe tune in tomorrow when we're in New York City, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, and we'll try to put your question first, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. But we're running out of time, and we don't want to discuss an issue like this super quickly, huh? Wallahu a'lam. Jazakumullahu khairan, sallallahu alaihi wa barak, ala abdi wa rasuli nabi Muhammad. And the rest of the questions as well, that we didn't get to today, we're sorry, and we'll try our best to get to those questions tomorrow. If you can repost them tomorrow. Bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Jazakumullahu khairan.